Hello everyone, DM Gashbad here, and today we are bringing you Scenario 2 of my Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion solo campaign. As before, we are using my custom Warhammer Fantasy miniatures as stand-ins for the actual Gloomhaven miniatures, and have also created 3D terrain to replace the flat 2D stuff. As you can see, for this game I'm still using my Quatryl Demolitionist. Her name is Verdia, and I'm using a converted skink chief for her. And I've also got Hugo Chasseur, my Inox Hatchet, which I'm using an old Beastman model for. This game has introduced a couple more elements to Gloomhaven. You're kind of learning to play as you go through these scenarios. So I had to make a door for this, so you can see my little ruined section of wall that I've built a door into. I also had to paint up another little section of spiky barricades from the Warcry box. I have an old chest that I painted a long time ago from the Mordheim accessory sprue. There's my rock I made last time. And we've also got traps this time. Those traps are made from the trap weapons from the ogre sprue. And as before, we are fighting Vermlings, which I'm using old plastic Skaven for. Again, I don't think this scenario is going to be too difficult. The big change is that we've added money into the mix, so while we go through this scenario, I am going to try and grab as much money as possible, because why not? The characters have also switched out a couple of their cards, they've added elements like pushing and pulling, and the Vermlings are now using behavior cards of their own. We're using 4 basic actions that are drawn randomly each round. So they won't be quite as predictable, but their initiative is still pretty slow, and they're generally going to do the same thing. They're mostly going to shoot with ranged attacks this time. Anyway, here's the board all set up for Scenario 2, A Hole in the Wall. The Vermlings ambushed us on our way back to Gloomhaven last time. That didn't sit quite well with us, so we're following them back to their little burrow that they made in the city wall. Unlike the cardboard stands that they give you for the models in the Gloomhaven game, my Skaven don't have numbers, so when it matters they will activate from right to left. So in this first area I'm facing off against 3 Vermling Raiders. I've only got 2 characters, so that's the number that you get. There's also 2 of those damage traps. They cause 3 damage if you run over them or push through them. There's 2 little coins and an obstacle, and that's all before we open the door. I chose to set up my guys a little bit forward, and for my first cards, Hugo is going to choose Second Wind and Disorienting Barrage. That's going to give him an initiative of 18. Verdi is going to choose Explosive Blitz and the Big One. The Big One has now changed. It is now a lost card. I don't intend to use the top lost action. I'm going to use the bottom movement action. Anyway, with Verdia's initiative of 19, that means I'm guaranteed to go before the Vermlings. The fastest initiative they have in their action cards is 36. In the event, the Vermlings drew the Careful Throw action. That's the fastest initiative of 36, still slower than me. It allows them to move up to their basic allowance and make 1 attack at -1 strength to a range of 2. So Hugo has the fastest initiative. He's going to go first. First of all, I'm going to use the bottom action of Second Wind to move. I can move up to 5 hexes with that. I'm only going to move 4. I'm going to end up on that little piece of treasure, so I'm going to collect that at the end of my activation. And then I'm going to use the top action for Disorienting Barrage. That's an interesting one. It's attack 1, which is real low, but it's target 3, so I'm going to target all 3 of those guys because they're all within my range of 3. So just going to throw out a barrage of his throwing axes. I imagine it looks kind of cool. So I draw the combat modifier cards, and when all is said and done, the Vermling furthest right takes 1 point of damage. I draw the miss card for the center one, so he doesn't take any damage. And the one on the left, I get a +1 for my modifier card, and so he'll take 2 points of damage. Even better, they all get the muddle condition, meaning that when they attack me, they have disadvantage. They draw 2 attack modifier cards, and they choose the worst one. So that brings us to initiative 19 with Verdia. Verdia is going to use the bottom action of the Big One, which means she can move 3 and push one adjacent enemy. So I'm going to use that to hop forward 1 hex and push that Vermling in the middle into the trap. So that Vermling is going to take 3 points of damage and also clear that trap for me. Thank you very much. And I'm going to follow that up with the top action from Explosive Blitz, which is attack 2, range 4. So I draw a modifier, I get +0, so it's going to take 2 points of damage. These Vermlings only have 5 health, so that guy's going to die and drop a little money token for me to pick up. So now it's the Vermlings' turn, and they're going to do their Careful Throw. We start with the one furthest right. Normally, it would move away, so it's not adjacent to the target. because when you make a ranged attack, you have disadvantage against a target that's adjacent to you, but this guy already has disadvantage because of the disorienting barrage, so he's just going to stay where he is. Anyway, he throws a rock or whatever at Verdia. I have to draw 2 attack modifier cards. I get a +1 and a -1. We take the -1 because that's worse. These Vermlings only have an attack value of 2, so that's -1 from the action, -1 from the modifier card, so he does 0 damage. Verdia is completely unhurt. The one on the left moves up to be in range of Hugo. It throws its sharpened spoon, and it gets the modifier cards +0 and +1, so it's actually going to do 1 point of damage to Hugo. With that, it's the end of the round. Hugo needs to shuffle his attack modifier cards because he drew that null card. We choose our new cards for the round. Verdia is going to go with Knock Out the Support and 1-2 Punch, giving her initiative of 20. Hugo is going to use Center Mass and Stopping Power for 24. And the Vermlings draw Dual Daggers for an initiative of 59. So the Vermlings aren't going to move, but they can shoot twice at a range of up to 2 with an attack +0. Verdia is going to start things off, and we're going to use the top action of 1-2 Punch on that Vermling right in front of me. The first punch does 2 points of damage. The second one does 1. It's going to end up muddling that guy. I'm going to choose not to push it because if I do, that's going to move it out of the line of sight of Hugo because there's this little wall that sticks out. There's this little black line. It's kind of hard to see. Anyway, so that Vermling stays where it is. I'm now going to use the bottom action of Knock Out the Support. I'm going to go pick up that little coin off to the right. That's going to bring us to 24, so Hugo is going to go and use Stopping Power on that Vermling that Verdia was punching. Stopping Power is attack 3, range 3. I only have to do 1 point of damage. I draw a -1 for my attack modifier. That's still more than enough to kill that guy. I'm now going to use the bottom action of Center Mass. That's going to allow me to move 3 and then push to one adjacent enemy. So I'm going to hop over to in front of that door and I'm going to push that last Vermling into that trap. It's going to take 3 points of damage and die. So the Vermlings don't get to do anything this round because they are 2 dead. Both of my guys only have 2 more cards that they can choose, so it doesn't take me a long time to pick. Hugo's going to go with Close Cuts and Double Throw for initiative of 25, and Verdia, her last 2 cards are Piston Punch and Implode for an initiative of 42. So Hugo is going first. He's going to use Close Cuts, the bottom action, to move 1 hex and then do Loot 1. So everything within 1 hex is going to get looted. That's going to allow him to pick up those 2 coins right there. And all Verdia is going to do is move forward 1 hex and pick up that 1 coin in front of her. With that, my characters now need to short rest. So we shuffle up our cards, and we each have to lose 1. Hugo is going to lose Close Cuts, and Verdia is going to lose Knock Out the Support. I think I can live with both of those cards going away. We've done pretty well here, killed all the Vermlings, looted all the money, got rid of all the traps. It's time to go into the next room. Verdia is going to choose Explosive Blitz and the big one for an initiative of 37, but Hugo's going to go a little bit faster with Center Mass and Disorienting Barrage. So now I've rotated the book around so we can see what we're doing. Hugo is going to use the bottom action of Disorienting Barrage to move up to and open that door. So we draw the behavior for the Vermlings in here, and we get nothing special. That's an initiative of 50, so they're still going to go after me. They're just going to do a basic move and close combat attack. Continuing with his turn, Hugo is going to use Center Mass to cause 3 points of damage to the lead Vermling. Verdia is up next. I decide against using the big one, my lost ranged attack, so I'm just going to use Explosive Blitz, the bottom action, to move up behind Hugo. It's the Vermling's turn, and as you remember, their movement is bad. They only get to move 1 hex, so they just kind of slowly shuffle towards my guys. It's a new round. Hugo is going to go first this next round. He's going to choose an initiative of 18 with Second Wind and Stopping Power. Verdia is next with Piston Punch and Implode, and the Vermlings draw Screaming Shot. That'll give them an initiative of 85. They're not going to move, they're going to push 1 all adjacent enemies, and then they're going to throw an attack +1 at range 2. So Hugo is up first. He's going to use Stopping Power on that lead Vermling. He draws a +0 for his attack modifier, but that still causes 3 points of damage and kills it off. He's then going to use the bottom action from Second Wind, which allows him to move up to 5 hexes, which is enough to bring him into contact with that chest on the lower right-hand corner. We go into the book to find out what we get, and it turns out we get 3 treasure tokens. Verdia is up next. She's going to use the bottom action of Implode, so I move 2 and I can destroy an obstacle within 3 hexes, and so I blow up that barricade, because why not? I'm too far away to attack the Vermling, so we'll go on to the Vermling's turn. The Vermling isn't going to move, no one's adjacent so it can't push anybody, and no one's within range 2 so it can't fire its screaming shot either. So everybody has to sort out their cards again. Hugo and Verdia have to short rest. Hugo loses center mass, Verdia loses explosive blitz. We've also gone through all the Vermling behavior cards, plus Screaming Shot requires me to shuffle them anyway, so we shuffle those up again as well. For this next round, Hugo's going to choose Second Wind again, and Stopping Power. So second verse, same as the first. Verdia is going to choose the Big One and 1-2 Punch. The remaining Vermling gets Screaming Shot again. So Hugo's up first. He's going to use the top action from Stopping Power. He draws a +1 to the attack modifier. That's going to do a nice 4 points of damage. He's now going to use the bottom action of Second Wind, which is of course that 5 hex move. Complete overkill in this case. He's going to move 1 hex and land on that treasure token. Verdia's turn, and she is going to use the bottom action from 1-2 Punch to loot 1, so she's going to pick up that 1 treasure token next to her. And then she figures it's about time to wrap things up. She's going to use the Big One, so she lobs her big demolition charge. It's a lost card, but we're going to end this hopefully right now. It's only range 2, but it's got a giant template. We draw a -1 for our attack modifier, but that's okay. It's attack 3, and we only need to do 1 point of damage. So with that, the last Vermling dies. Now, I probably didn't need to do that. I probably shouldn't have used the Big One there. What I could have done instead is just gone another round, used one of my characters to finish off that last Vermling. I'm still out of range from the attacks for this round. It would have dropped a treasure token, and I would have gotten until the end of that round to pick that last one up. So I could have gotten myself 2 more gold. But sometimes you just gotta throw a big bomb. So that's the end of scenario 2. I think that went real well. We only took 1 point of damage, we killed off all the Vermlings, we collected almost all the money. Speaking of money, we now get to go into Gloomhaven and go to the item shop, which is nice because we also earned an extra 25 gold for completing the scenario. So going into town, Verdia, I believe, has 31 gold. Hugo ended up with 39. You can't share gold. You can't give gold to the other characters, but you can trade items freely. So what ends up happening is Hugo goes and he buys a stamina potion and the weathered boots and gives both of those to Verdia. He then buys a stamina potion for himself, and Verdia in turn goes and buys the eagle-eyed goggles and gives those to Hugo. The weathered boots are a magic item that adds +1 to movement. You have to refresh them after a long rest, but I think Verdia could really use them because she is a close combat character, so she really needs to move up a little bit more quickly than I think she's doing right now. The eagle-eyed goggles give advantage to an entire attack action, and since Hugo has a lot of target 2-3 attack actions, I figure he could benefit from those. Again, refreshable, and both of them get stamina potions, which allow me to draw 2 cards from my discard pile back into my hand. These things are just almost necessary. They really help extend the life of your character. So that puts us in a pretty good position moving into scenario 3, the Black Ship, as we add the sticker to our map. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment if you have any observations, questions, or concerns, and I will see you on the next one.